Welcome to the DoubleACS Daily News for August 11th, 2016. Last week, Governor Baker signed into law a pay equity bill aimed at ensuring that workers in Massachusetts receive equal pay for comparable work. The bill passed unanimously in the House and Senate, and to learn more, we spoke with Attleboro State Representative Paul Heroux.
I'm here to talk about the pay equity bill, which would create equal pay for equal work. And this was an important piece of legislation because there have been, both anecdotally and through research, numerous cases of women making about 80 cents on the dollar compared to what men make. And people of color and minorities, they're often making about 60 cents on the dollar. Now, these aren't for jobs that are like in fast food industries or working in local retail shops or anything. The big differences in pay would come with professionals, whether they're lawyers or doctors or business folks. That's where they would have the big, differences. And so what this legislation is doing is it's basically saying that if you have the same job, you should be paid the same salary. Now, the legislation also carves out 6 different exemptions to that. So merit pay is one of them. If you're producing more for your company or your business, you can be paid, more for that, but that's not equal pay for equal work. Because you're producing more, you'd be more work. There's also, travel costs. If 2 people have the same job and one of them has to travel, they get more money for that, for the travel reimbursements. Also, a third one would be for somebody who is living in New York and has the exact same job of someone who's living in rural Arkansas or Mississippi. There's going to be a kind of cost of living adjustment. So there are several things that were adjusted, that the Associated Industries of Massachusetts, the Chamber of Commerce, the National Organization of Women, they all agreed on these kind of provisions to it, these exemptions, for equal pay for equal work. Another thing, about this bill is that it's now going to be against the law for an employer to ask an applicant for what their salary was in their previous job. And the reason that's important is that if a woman, or anyone for that matter, was paid under what they should be paid at their previous job, by telling your employer what your baseline was at your previous job, you're now setting a bar that's lower than what you should be getting. The idea behind this legislation is that the employer should pay someone for the job they're doing. There's a certain value associated with that job, and get away from paying someone based on how much they got in their previous job. And there was this sort of unintended effect that women would often get less money in their jobs, but not just women who were getting 80 cents on the dollar, but also minorities and African Americans. People were getting about 60 cents on the dollar. So that last provision, though, about not asking someone their previous salary was, that actually helps men and women. It's something that goes across the board, something that'll help people get what the job should pay and what they are actually worth. The funny thing about this bill, with whether or not there was an opponent or not, is that it really didn't have any opponents to it. It passed unanimously. Groups that were traditionally conservative and traditionally liberal came together in agreement on this. It was Representative Pat Haddad. She's a Speaker Pro Tem. She was the one who kind of took point on this bill and worked with a lot of different organizations, like I said, that previously didn't always work together, or at least not necessarily work together, but share the same ideological points of view. And they did come together on this. So the National Organization of Women, the ACLU, 2 traditionally liberal groups, were able to work with and agree on a final bill that the Associated Industries of Massachusetts and the Chamber of Commerce also agreed to. And this passed the House. Not a single Democrat or Republican voted against it, and it was signed into law by the governor. Typically, bills go into effect about 90 days after the governor signs it into law. So it's, probably what we're looking at. This one, however, is a little bit different. This one's going to be going into effect. Several portions are going to roll out over the course of time, with the last one rolling out in, I believe, 2018. So it depends on what aspect of the bill is going to roll out at what point in time.
That's it for today's update. For DoubleACS News, I'm Austin Ricketts.